We are infertile and wife is refusing to adopt. I decided to get some suggestions anonymously as we don't feel comfortable disclosing this with our friends' family. We are both in our late 20s. We have tried to conceive for about a year and a half before seeing the doctor. After a bunch of tests, we found out that she has something called premature ovarian failure. The way the doctor described it, basically, she is gonna hit menopause in a few years. She doesn't have a lot of eggs left. We discussed a bunch of treatment options and doctor told us without a donor, our chances of success with IVF are roughly 5 to 10%. If we use a donor, this goes up to around 80 to 90%. Also, each treatment is going to cost roughly $15 to $20,000 United States dollars. While we have planned things well, that is still a lot of money. My wife proposed we ask her younger sister to donate. This is when our disagreements started. I do not feel comfortable with that for a number of reasons. 1. I see her as my younger sister. I know we won't be doing the deed, but just the thought of having a biological child with my sister is repulsive. 2. My wife is super close with her sister. I know our future child is going to have a lot of interactions with her aunt. I do not want the complication of aunt versus biological mom. 3. This is a big ask that can affect her life. Her future relationships are definitely going to be more complicated if she has a biological child. I have not asked her sister. I am not 100% sure if she has either. I explained this to her as clearly as I could. I then mentioned that I would prefer we rather adopt for a number of reasons. 1. As far as I am concerned, if it's not her egg then we aren't exactly passing her genes on fully. Yes, her sister has some of her genes, but it's not the same thing. 2. There are way too many kids out there without parents or families. I would rather do something good and take care of them, while fulfilling our desire for parenthood. My best friend is an orphan and I know the struggles he went through growing up. She is refusing based on the fact that she wants to experience what a pregnancy feels like. What it feels like to have a baby in her. I do empathize with her. We had our first major fight in many years. We have discussed this often but have not been able to come to a consensus. The last time we discussed this, she basically told me, I need to get on board or she will take matters into her own hands. No idea what she means by that, but I am at my wit's end. I am looking for any advice or suggestions on how to approach this. Edit 1. I have discussed seeing a counselor with her. We found someone through the fertility clinic. She has good experience dealing with this specific situation. I booked 3 apps so far, but my wife cancelled every single one. She doesn't believe in psychotherapy. And #X200B. Edit 2. To clarify, I am 100% supportive of her to try IVF with her own eggs. Since I was in high school I have always wanted to own my own restaurant. I have been saving for it, day one of my first job. I have put aside quite a bit of money to eventually purchase a restaurant. I offered to spend every last cent of it for as many IVF treatments she needs to attempt pregnancy. I do not think it is possible for me to be more supportive than this. You guys really need marriage counseling for something like this. The feelings involved are way too strong and primal for most couples to get through without a mediator. Have you looked into embryo adoption? There are a lot of embryos left over from couples who have gone through IVF who are not planning to have more kids. Many couples don't want them to be destroyed and would rather give the embryos out for adoption. Your wife would still experience pregnancy and you don't have to find an egg donor. A lot of people here are saying to just try IVF, since there's a possibility that it might work, but I don't think they're understanding the financial and physical toll that IVF takes, especially since it sounds like her odds of conceiving are low. I've been through it and it is rough. Spending $20,000 on just one IVF cycle that is likely going to crush her when it doesn't work out is not the best solution. I know Reddit loves to recommend therapy, but in your case I genuinely think it's your best move here. I think it's your best chance to get on the same page. Go see the counselor alone. She'll give you better advice than anyone here can. Is your wife willing to consider a donor besides her sister? I agree with you, the sister shouldn't even be a consideration, it's unethical to even ask her emo. Honestly, I think the counseling is best advice. This is a huge decision to make, and if you feel so strongly against the sister donating, you need to stick to your guns there, I think. Perhaps suggest therapy to your partner and see if she responds positively to that, as I think it genuinely is the best course of action. It's fair that you are uncomfortable with the idea of using her sister's eggs. This is both of your kid, not just hers. Please go get some counseling with her. I look at it this way. You use the sister's egg, which you don't want. You adopt, which she doesn't want. You split up, which neither of you wants. Or you decide that having each other is enough, which you should both want. Agree with everyone else, though, that counseling is the way. Do IVF. She still has hope. After 5 years of fertility treatments, etc., I finally went in to do IVF because I wanted a baby that was mine and my husband's. I knew adoption was the next step, but I needed that last little bit of, it's just not going to happen. The IVF failed. Something reset in my body, though, because at the ripe age of 35 I conceived without help 6 months later. We had fully moved on to save up for adoption. We did need couples therapy to work through the crippling depression I had after years of trying and then the failed IVF, but we got stronger in the relationship with it. I completely understand her position and can sympathize with her, and I am sorry, men just won't understand the need to be pregnant. Let the downvotes begin. I don't know if it's possible in your country, but I heard of egg adoption. Life fertilized eggs from couple who were planning IVF but didn't use them and don't want them destroyed, so they're put for adoption. She could experience pregnancy, but the child wouldn't be related to any of you. That being said, counseling to start would be a good idea. Heed the marriage counseling, and if the IVF cost is a concern, and consider doing a mommycation to Europe to do IVF together. It's worlds cheaper, truly exceptional medical care, and the results I've seen in real life from the people in my life who have gone to them to get pregnant have been incredible. The ones who ended up using donors, you would never guess. They found donors who looked very much like their parents, from coloring to face shape, to all of it. I know there are clinics in Greece, the Czech Republic, and Denmark that all are in a similar low-cost range. They're top-notch, highly reputable, and it's easy to do the research on it if you're interested. I'm sure there's Reddit groups for it. Your wife doesn't believe in psychotherapy but wants to be a mother? What happens in the future if you have a child and they have mental health issues? What if she gets pregnant and then has postnatal depression? Your wife isn't willing to work on the problem now. Until she's ready to do that? Don't have a child. IVF is intensely emotional and ridiculously stressful. It's incredibly hard to face the failures without the assistance of a therapist. Source: I went through 12 rounds of IVF. Don't sell out your dreams so she can pursue what she has recently decided upon. You've been saving this money for a long time. Be prepared to spend money and have nothing to show for it in the end. Really think about it before doing it. It would be terrible to spend that money and then resent her for it later. I see a red flag. She doesn't believe in therapy. Even people without huge problems could benefit from it. If she won't discuss this with you and a therapist who specializes in cases like this, I would seriously reconsider having a child and spending your dream life savings on IVF. Both of you have valid arguments. This is an incredibly painful and fraught situation. The fact she doesn't believe in psychotherapy and has expressed intent to proceed with or without you is a very, very, very bad way to enter into parenthood. Being a parent with your partner is all about communication and compromise. You will have future conflicts while raising a child. She is showing you right now how she deals with serious disagreements. If she won't even work with you, I would not move forward with a baby. I think it's a lot to spend $20,000 on IVF with that low of a chance of success, 5 to 10%. Unless you have a ton of cash. The last time we discussed this, she basically told me, I need to get on board or she will take matters into her own hands. This would concern me hugely. Having a child affects both of you. I'm sure she is feeling like shit since it is her infertility issues, but she cannot just take matters into her own hands and expect that to not have consequences on your marriage. I'm afraid I would be making counseling a condition of proceeding with any conception option. You seem to be at a bit of an impasse, and I think a neutral, professional third party is exactly what you need. Especially before making life-changing decisions, like having a child with someone else's egg, or spending your life savings. When I had all 3 of my children, I found that when they hand them to you, they are total strangers. We had to get to know each other. Just because we share DNA didn't mean they are anything like me. Now I believe that it's the act of parenting that bonds you together. Maybe if you meet some adoptive families, they could show your wife that it doesn't matter if you give birth to your kids. I also have triplet nephews who were conceived with donor eggs. They are amazing and are adored by their parents. It doesn't matter how your family is created. You will fall in love with your kids. My ex was an embryologist. That 5 to 10% for IVF looks very suspicious. Rather go make an appointment directly with a fertility clinic that does IVF and hear what they have to say. If they can get at least 3 decent eggs, you'll probably have twins. Ps. You can fly to a third world country like RSA and have the IVF treatment done for $3,800 USD max. My partner is also against adopting, which I find horrid. He would rather have no children if we can't get pregnant. So sad. My coworker just got pregnant after 5 years of IVF, unsure how consistent, but I am sure it was only a few times of trying. My mom as well took nearly 6 years to get pregnant with my sister, 2 miscarriages between us, and she did not use IVF. I'm so sorry for you guys. Best of luck. Sounds like you guys aren't compatible anymore. Okay, I agree that counseling is first. Next though, the options. 1. Keep trying naturally. 2. Pay $15 to $20K for IVF with own eggs. 3. Pay $15 to $20K for IVF with donor eggs. 4. Pay $10 to $15K for a surrogate. 5. Adopt. 6. Foster. 7. Stay childless. Clearly you both have the drive toward parenthood, but I don't think it's a good idea to become parents for the sake of heredity alone. Wanting kids that are yours is natural, I get that. But kids aren't just DNA continuances, they're people. So, counseling. 80 to 90% success rate of IVF with a donor egg is a suspiciously high claim. I'd get a second opinion. Dude, don't throw your restaurant away for nothing. 5 to 10% chance? My friend, it's not going to take, and you'll have nothing to show for it, and a wife twice as distraught. Listen, IVF is not an easy thing for a woman to go through, physically or emotionally. It's unfair of you to ask her to choose the option with a 5 to 10% success rate when there's a 90% success rate possible with option B, and just ask her to keep trying until it takes? No. I think wife needs to quit flaking on counseling and husband needs to get over his aversion to using the sister's eggs. If she won't go to the counseling appointment with you, go without her. You'll still get valuable advice. Sounds like she's having a really hard time coming to reality over the situation. You both should be able to compromise on the donor. Her threatening that if you're not on board she'll take matters into her own hands is just so concerning. I'm sure at this point you're exhausted from fighting her. If they told you the IVF chances are low, you use all the money towards that, and are still left without a baby that can be devastating. It sounds like she really needs a heart-to-heart about how you both are partners, have a say in this and that, no matter what you love her and can still raise a child together. Blood or not, that would be her child, and she may have a hard time at first but she would come around. Good luck op. Marriage counseling is not the same as psychotherapy. It's just a person asking you 2 questions and guiding a conversation so you can come to productive end results. I understand that your wife wants to experience pregnancy. I, myself, am currently going through IVF, but as long as you both are going to take over the roles of parents, you both need to be on the same page. Also, if you live in a country where this is an option, you could also look into embryo adoption. In my opinion, having a relative as a donor is always a bad idea, but this is something you two need to hash out, preferably in a safe space with the mediation of a professional. IVF is not 100% successful. One of my friends didn't have children. They first tried IUI for a year. Nothing happened. Then they tried IVF continuously for a year and a half. She never got pregnant. Later they decided to stop all medications. After 3 years, she became pregnant. Now they have a beautiful healthy baby. As bad as this may sound, I would suggest going to counseling to discuss potentially not having kids as a primer for the inevitable should you two not be able to come to an agreement in time. Because I could see her having 0 eggs causing a lot of emotions even if you two knew it was coming. Regardless of if you guys think you've come to terms with it. Things tend to hit harder or differently when the reality comes. I agree that consoling is a must before continuing with any process. I also want to add that IVF can be a very rough road. It can take a very serious toll on your mental health if a cycle fails, let alone several in a row. I hope you two can find something to compromise on. What about an embryo adoption? The child wouldn't be related to either one of you, but she would get to be pregnant and you would be there for her. That forms a stronger bond than any genes can. What about embryo adoption? Not sure about the costs, but she would still get to be pregnant. Get a second opinion. We noticed some fertility doctors jumping straight to the really expensive treatments when there were simpler, cheaper options. Our friends heard this and got a second opinion, then tried Clomid and got pregnant without the crazy expensive implants. I'm not sure this will help you personally, but it can help when a single doctor gives you life-changing news. Doctors can be wrong on occasion. It sounds like you are being as intransigent as she is. Assuming her sister is on board with it, using her sister's eggs would be a reasonable compromise. Your refusal to consider it is part of the problem, as is your failure to see that. You two are not working as a couple on this. Both of you have staked out absolute positions with no room for discussion or compromise. That's the problem you need to work on first. Just trying to find the magic argument that will persuade your wife that you are right and she is wrong is not going to get you anywhere. Wouldn't her sister be a surrogate at that point? Having her sister donate is probably the best way to still have your wife's genes in your child. IDK if I was the only one thinking that. Sounds like a blessing in disguise. I'd never adopt either. I'd pay the $20,000 for 80% chance with her sister's egg. I don't get your objections. Her sister's egg is the closest blood relation she can have with her baby. There's a massive difference between sister's egg and some rondo's egg, and then another massive difference between that and adoption. Search adoption in any of the personal relationships subreddits and see why adoption is not for people who don't want future emotional pain. Asking sister for donation is great option, because child will be similar to both of you. You think it's not much, but imagine being couple that go sleep at 9 p.m. and then imagine child from someone like me where I can be awake till 2 a.m. Life would be crazy. If this is important to you. As far as I am concerned, if it's not her egg then we aren't exactly passing her genes on fully. Then why is your solution adoption? Also this is a big ask that can affect her life. Her future relationships are definitely going to be more complicated if she has a biological child. Is irrelevant to the conversation. Whether or not donating an egg will affect your sister-in-law's relationships is not your concern. If she is aware of the potential consequences and has made her decision, then you should not be arguing a point that she isn't making. So you're telling me that your wife is letting you put a baby in her using her sister's DNA and you're passing on it? It might just be me, but that's the hottest thing I've read all day. It costs twice that to adopt. Financially it doesn't make sense. The fact that this kid will be a biological mix of both you and her, via her sister, is important and is not something to simply ask her to forego. As others have said, it's primal. In this case, I really think you should put aside your personal ickiness or whatever discomfort you're feeling and your fears about the future relationship with her sister, because those are mostly practical issues that are valid of course, but hers is an existential crisis. I hope you understand that. The aunt may be biologically related, but as far as it's concerned, you and your wife will be the parents, not the aunt. Ask her sister to donate. It's really not your call. You could, if you'd like, use donor sperm as well, so it's not your sperm and your SIL's egg, if that's really a problem for you.